Hi guys, back with my December, the last prompt for my one little word this year, and it's going to be a quick one because as you can see I've already done most of the work here. I ended up with exactly the right amount of room to finish up this year in my pocket page notebook, which was good planning towards the end of the year, but if I had been a bit more economical at the start I wouldn't have had to squeeze in these last few months. But either way, I know for next year I think I'll carry on this tradition and carry on and do one little word in a pocket page notebook next year as well. But for finishing up this year, I took the handouts, the downloads for this month, and resized them so that they fit in my pocket page notebook. So I'll just show you how I did that in Photoshop. So I'm just starting with an A4 canvas in Photoshop. You can make this any size you want, but I'm going to use A4 so that I can print both sides of my Travels Notebook insert on one sheet of paper. So I've got my A4 canvas and I'm just going to drag out a guideline to 4 1/4 inches and 8 1/2 inches. Now I'm going to grab the Facts and Feelings PNG file and just drag that onto my canvas. I'm going to line it up with the top left hand corner, and then while holding down the shift key I'm going to drag in the bars here until it is the same size as my guideline, and then hit return. And I'm going to do the same thing with the I Want to Remember PNG file as well, except I'm going to line it up with my second guideline here. And so the PNG files are a little bit different this month. They're normally they normally have a clear background, but if I turn my background off here, you can see that these are flattened PNGs. So to change the color on them like I want to, it's slightly more complicated than it should be. But I'm going to resize this a little bit here because they're Facts and Feelings, so this will print onto a Traveler's Notebook sized insert fine. But I want this gap to be a little bit more even. So I'm just going to select that layer in my layers palette, right click it and rasterize the layer. Then use my marquee tool to select the feelings part. Use my arrow tool again and drag this down until it's roughly halfway. You could measure it out if you want to. I'm not really going to worry about it. I'm just eyeballing it. And then deselect. So this will be the first page of my insert and this will be the second. But like I said, I want to recolor these titles. I don't want them to be grey. So I'm just going to use the flyout menu here. I want to join these two layers together. So I'm going to hold down the shift key and select both those layers, use my menu and say merge layers. So that merges that into one layer. You can see here though it still has this white background, which is what I need to get rid of so that I can alter the color. So use my marquee tool and make sure it's on the multiple selection option up here, not the single one, the multiple one, because I'm going to do all 3 of these titles at the same time. So I'm using my marquee tool to just select the titles, being really careful not to select that line that's underneath them, until I've got all 3, and then I'm going to go edit, cut, and edit, paste special, paste in place. So that puts them back in exactly the same place, but they're on a separate layer. So if I turn these other 2 layers off, you can see here that my 3 titles are on one layer. Now if I double click this layer and go color overlay, you can see it colors the entire layer. It's got the background and the titles. So we need to get rid of this white background first. So I'm going to use my magic wand tool here and just click once on one of these white background pieces, doesn't matter which one, and then go to select and go similar, which will select all of the white parts of this layer. Then I can just hit delete, deselect that, and if I turn the background on so you can see, now I have my titles but they don't have a background. So I can then, I'll put these layers back on so you can see, I can then double click the layer which is just my titles, select color overlay, and now my titles are colored and I can choose whichever color I want them to be. And unsurprisingly, I'm gonna pick a teal color, I think. Go OK, and then I can print my inserts, fill in my journaling, trim them out, and stick them into my pocket page notebook. So after I finished resizing these, I just printed them out, and like I said, I had printed them so that I could get both sides onto one A4 sheet of paper, and then I did the journaling that I needed to do on here without making you see all of that. So all I need to do now is trim these out and stick them into my notebook. So I have stuck these down either side of the pocket page. I had this pocket page spare, I guess you would say, and when I was looking back through my book, as Ellie suggested before starting this prompt, I realized that I had started this notebook with a full page selfie of myself printed on vellum in a pocket. When I got to the end and realized that I had this pocket left over, I thought that seemed like it would be an appropriate way to finish this notebook as well. And funnily enough, a couple of weekends ago we had gone back to the beach, different beach actually, and I had taken a selfie of myself almost exactly the same style as that. So I figured that would be perfect way to end this notebook and say not goodbye to my word, because I actually I'm really sad to say goodbye to balance. It's been such a great word for me, and I've learnt so much, and I've grown so much with it. So I'm not actually planning on saying goodbye. It's going to be one of those words that I take with me. There's been a few of words that I've done in this sort of style of one little word that have stuck with me through my life. Create is one, choose is one, and now I'm going to carry balance with me as well before I move on to next year. So here is my photo that I have printed out on vellum, and I just wanted to show you that when you print on vellum, I can't give you any specific settings. You'll need to experiment. Even I need to experiment. The reason this is backwards is because it's on one side of the vellum. So I printed this one first, just printed it on plain paper settings, and I thought it was too light. It wasn't as dark as the photo should have been. So I went back, just flipped the sheet over and gave it another go on a different setting, and I'm much happier with the result. You can see here it's much more in line with the photo that I had at the start of my notebook, as opposed to this one, which is much lighter. So I'm going to trim this out and stick that into my pocket. So that is my December prompt all finished. I really love the way this works with the vellum. It sort of hides some of the journaling a little bit, makes it a little bit more private, I guess. I just like the way that these selfies bookend each end of my pocket page notebook. So I do a quick flip through. Of course, every month has been a process video, so if you want to have a look at anything specific, you can go ahead and check out my One Little Word 2018 playlist. To see most of the pages in here. At the start of the year I did start off doing a couple of extra pages, but I quickly realized I was going to run out of room, so I stopped doing that reasonably quickly. I still love these. The vision boards are still one of my favorite prompts of the year, and although these were smaller to fit in the pocket page notebooks, I still really enjoy the way that they turned out. These monthly sort of intentions were a great thing for me too. I really enjoyed that. I've been super busy the last couple of months and so haven't done them, and I have kind of missed them, to be honest. These little things took so long to stamp. So it's nice that I've got some like big things documented in here too about us buying a house, and it's been a really big year of change and challenge, so it's nice that I've got this all documented in here too. These were super thick, this mixed media page. I definitely next time would probably try a thinner paper before sticking them in here, or perhaps do the mixed media pieces and then photograph them and stick them in maybe, because they do take up quite a lot of thickness of my notebook. The Say Yes to Your Word Day was a great one for me too. That was another one of my favorites. And actually one I didn't think that I would enjoy or would have much to say was the stories that I was telling myself, so that surprised me as well. Here's where I start having to get creative about adding pieces into my notebook. And one super small month, so that I end at the end of my pages, and I am super happy to have finished this year on a high note with one little word. I really hope that if you're joining in on this project that you've cut yourself some slack no matter where you are with it, that you're giving yourself the grace and space to take it at your own pace and not putting any guilt or pressure on yourself if you haven't kept up with the prompts, if you've missed prompts. I think it's really important to not add guilt to your load. We already carry around so much stuff with us without feeling bad about not finishing something or not doing it the way you think you're supposed to. Try to just look at it as a learning experience. Move on if you didn't do a month. Go back to it later if you want to. I don't think there's any specific path or prescription for how these sorts of projects should work. So wherever you are with it, I really hope that you've learned something from it and that you've enjoyed watching these videos. Thank you so much for taking the journey with me and for keeping me accountable. This has been the first year in a long time that I have actually finished one little word, I will say. Have not done that for maybe 3 or 4 years. So thank you for keeping me accountable and for helping me finish this year on a high note. Thanks for watching, guys, and don't forget, if you want to look at anything else in this book, check out the playlist. I will link it at the end here. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.